with open hearts and open minds. First United Methodist Church in Pueblo, Colorado presents Hope and Coffee with Pastor Hugo Venegas.
Hi, welcome back to another week of Hope and Coffee. And this is Hugo Venegas transmitting live from Heredia, Costa Rica. We are studying the lessons of hope from the life of Abraham. Last week we talked about just our desire to go where God calls us to go. And today we're going to talk about having a hunger for God's blessing in our lives. And we're studying Genesis chapter 12, verses 1 through 3. Let me read those again. And it says, "The Lord said to Abram, go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I will show you. I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you I will curse, and all the peoples of the earth will be blessed through you." So Abram went as the Lord told him, and Lot went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he set out to Haran. Now, 75 years old. That's how old Abraham was when the Lord gave him this call in his life, and he went out. But I have to let you know that Abraham had a hunger for God's blessing in his life, because the blessing did not come to fruition for a while. And sometimes when God calls us, or God gives us an assignment, or God redirects our life, it is very easy to get excited. And whenever God promises us something, we want it right away. And I'm going to show you that when we have a hunger for God's blessing in our lives, that is what's going to keep us going, especially when that blessing begins to delay in our lives. So he was 75 years old, and I want us to skip to chapter 15 of Genesis to try to see what happens in his life, with God's call. So it says here, "After this, the word of the Lord came to Abram in a vision. 'Do not be afraid, Abram. I am your shield, your very great reward.'" So God shows up and says, "Hey, Abraham, don't be afraid of what's happening in your life. I am your shield. I am your great reward." Look at verse 2 of chapter 15 of Genesis. Abraham said, "Sovereign Lord, what can you give me since I remain childless? And the one who will inherit my estate is Eliezer of Damascus." And Abraham said, "You have given me no children. So a servant in my household will be my heir." Wow. Now, God is showing up and saying, "Hey, Abraham, I got your back. I got your back." And Abraham is saying, "You don't got my back. I don't have any children. I don't have any family. And the one who is going to have to carry that promise that you made is my servant Eliezer." And God says, no. And I want you to listen to what it says here in verse 4. "Then the word of the Lord came to him. 'This man will not be your heir, but a son who is your own flesh and blood will be your heir.' He took him outside and said, 'Look up at the sky, count the stars, if indeed you can count them.' Then he said to him, 'So shall your offspring be.'" So God takes him out of the tent and said, "No, it's not going to be your servant. You will have a son of your own blood, your own flesh, your own DNA son." And he took him out of his tent, pointed up to the sky, and God says, "You see all those stars that are shining in the canopy of the dark night? That's how many kids you're going to have." And verse 6, it says, "Abraham believed the Lord, and he credited to him as righteousness. He also said to him, 'I am the Lord who brought you out of Ur of the Chaldeans to give you this land and to take possession of it.' But Abraham said, 'Sovereign Lord, how can I gain possession of it?'" So no son. And then God said, "All right, I'm going to give you the land." And then there was no land. Abraham had nothing. And he said, how will I know that this land will come to me that you have been promising me for so long? And in verse 9, so the Lord said to him, bring me a heifer, a goat, and a ram, each 3 years old, along with a dove and a young pigeon. Abraham brought all these to him, cut them in two, arranged them in the halves opposite each other. The birds, however, he did not cut in half. Then the birds of prey came down on the carcasses, but Abraham drove them away. As the sun was setting, Abraham fell into a deep sleep, and a thick and dreadful darkness came over him. Then the Lord said to him, know for certain that for 400 years your descendants will be strangers in a country not their own, and they will be enslaved and mistreated there. But I will punish the nation they serve as slaves, and afterward they will come out with great possessions. You, however, will go to your ancestors in peace and be buried at an old age. In the 4th generation, your descendants will come back here, for the sin of the Amorites has not reached its full measure. Now, here is Abraham. God promised him a family, a nation, and a land. And it's almost 25 years later, when Genesis 15 is 25 years later. He's almost 100 years old. And he has no son. He has no land, no family, no nation. And God said to him, I will give you a son from your own DNA. And Abraham believed God, and it was credited to him as righteousness. He becomes the father of faith for believing in God. When God showed him the stars, he could visualize his descendants, although nothing had happened in real life. That's faith, folks. That is faith, believing in something that is unseen that becomes a reality later. Then he says, what about the land? And this is a big one. We'll talk about it later. God said, your descendants will be slaves for 400 years, and after that I will liberate them out of Egypt, and then they will come back to this place, and the land will be theirs. So it's almost 430 years after this encounter in Genesis 15 that they become the possessors of the land. That takes a lot of faith. 4 generations after him would be the ones who would enter into the promised land, 430 years down. And that takes a lot of faith. So all I want you to know is what kept Abraham going, believing God, even though the promise had not materialized, is that he was hungry. He was hungry for God's blessing. Are we that hungry in our lives? Do we have the patience? Are we hungry enough to wait it out on God? Are we hungry enough to say, God, I want this miracle in my life, and I will persevere. I will wait. I will be patient until you do something super amazing in my life. Sometimes that's what it takes. We have to keep hungry. We have to keep hungry. We have to keep hungry after God and after his blessings, and desire his blessings more than anything else. So this week we're going to talk more about how to stay hungry for the blessings of God, because Abraham remained hungry even after 25 years after the promise was made and it was not materialized. So this is Hugo Venegas. Have a blessed day, and I look forward to continuing our study tomorrow. God bless you.
Thank you for joining us. If you enjoyed our inspirational Bible study, like or subscribe below. Join us for worship online or in person. You can visit us at firstumcpueblo.org, or you can come by at 310 West 11th Street, Pueblo, Colorado, 81003. Give us a call, 719-544-1917, and join us again tomorrow for another inspirational Bible study. We'll see you soon.